Hello, my loves. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Bookalicious, where we talk all things books. I'm super excited to finally be filming my August reading wrap-up. I was debating on whether or not to do a wrap-up because I only read 6 books, which is still a decent number, but I wanted to read so much more books in August, and so I was kind of debating on whether or not I should post a reading wrap up or combine it with my September reading wrap up, but I decided to just film one for August separately anyway. And the books that I read in August, some were okay, some were basic, but let's get right into the video. The first book I picked up was Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, and this book is kind of responsible for why I didn't read more books in August because it put me in the biggest reading slump ever. But this is a YA romance with 2 characters who could not be more different than each other. The FMC, what is her name? Pepper, is very strict. She's kind of an overachiever. She is super smart. And then the love interest, Jack, is kind of known as the class clown. He doesn't take things too seriously, and he's used to kind of living in the shadow of his extremely popular twin brother. And both of these characters have families who own these restaurant businesses, and both businesses are kind of like rivals, which kind of make Pepper and Jack rivals as well, because they both run the social media accounts for these restaurants. And there's also another kind of situation where they're talking to each other on this anonymous app, so they don't know that they're becoming friends on that app as well, even though they dislike each other in real life. So there's a lot of different tropes, a lot of different elements. It's a little bit like You've Got Mail, which is an amazing movie, but I really wanted to love this book. I really did, and I typically just love any type of YA romance because they're so easy to just binge read, and this book just did not hit the spot for me at all. I found it so boring. I found it so bland. I didn't really connect to anything in this book at all. I didn't connect to the characters. The romance felt like it had no chemistry and no spark, and I was just really disappointed with this book. So unfortunately, I gave it 2 stars. I would have given it a lower rating if I hadn't read books that were worse than this, and I have read some romance books that were worse than this book, but I don't think I'm going to be reading any other books by this author. I mean, never say never. Everyone deserves a second chance, but I don't see myself picking up another one of her books anytime soon because the writing style I just didn't really love. But that was my experience with Tweet Cute. Then I picked up The Age of Fire by Eden Ross, and I follow her on Instagram, and she is just a powerhouse. She is, I believe, 16 or 17 years old. I know that she published this book at 16 when she was doing school and had a job as well, and she's amazing. Like, I couldn't even imagine doing that, publishing a book when I was 16 years old and juggling a bunch of responsibilities as well. And I think that's absolutely amazing. I gave this book 3 stars, not because I didn't like it, but I think it just wasn't a book that I could really connect with at my age level right now. This is a YA book, but it's one of those YA books where it would be totally suitable for like a 9 or 10-year-old to read this book. So if I was that age, if I was between the ages of 9 to 13, then I absolutely would have like fallen head over heels for this book. But I think I'm just outgrew this age level a little bit, but I can totally see why young adults and adults even would still really enjoy this book because it's really wholesome. It's a great fantasy book. It's got dragons, it's got found family, and it's just a really great book. I think it's really fun too if you go into it not knowing much about the plot, and if you just go into it and let the plot kind of unravel itself. So I totally would recommend that you check this one out if you want to read it yourself, or if you want to buy it, if you have like a younger sibling in your life or something like that, then I would definitely recommend this book. And I'm just so impressed by Eden Ross. I think she's amazing. Then I picked up The Cellar by Natasha Preston. This is a thriller, and it's basically about this young girl, and she's going out for the night, and she ends up getting kidnapped by this guy, and he takes her to his house, takes her to his basement, and she's really surprised to see that he has several other women locked in the basement as well. And this guy is obviously super duper creepy, and he has renamed them all, and he calls them by the names of all of these different flowers. So we have poppy and rose and, all the flower names, and none of them know why he's doing this. And the main character seems to be the only one who's actively trying to escape. There's a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome going on, a little bit with some of the characters. And this was a very bingeable book because you do want to know, obviously, like, do they escape? And you want to know, like, obviously this guy is insane, but you want to know, like, what his motive is. Like, why did he start doing this? And I think it was an okay thriller. It kept my attention enough for me to want to see what would happen next. And obviously, I wanted all of the girls to get out of his house. I was, of course, rooting for all of the characters, but I just didn't feel connected enough to any of the girls, even the main character. Like, I really liked her and obviously was rooting for her the whole time, but these characters just didn't feel fleshed out. And I think that when I read other thriller books, especially books by Riley Sager, he does such a great job of building this really intricate, intense story, but then all of his characters, they just feel like real people that you can really just connect with and love. And I didn't feel that for these characters. They felt very much like filler characters in this big, thrilling plot. But this was still a really decent book. I've read one other book by Natasha Preston called The Twin, and I think that she just has a really fun writing style that helps you read her books really quickly, and she's really good at building suspense and making her villains very creepy. So I really did enjoy that about this book, and I will likely read more books by her in the future. So I do recommend this one, especially since spooky season is kind of upon us, and I feel like the autumn season is perfect for mysteries and thrillers and creepy books. So I totally recommend this book to all of you. The next book I read was Glow by Raven Kennedy, which is the fourth book in the Plated Prisoner series. If you've watched a lot of my wrap-up videos, then you would know that I am the biggest fan of this series. I love these books. I love this series. I love these characters so much. And the first three books in this series have all been 6 stars for me. All of them have been 6 stars, infinity stars. I loved the first three books in this series so much. So this book I gave 4.75, which is obviously still an amazing, stellar rating, but it is a step down from 6 stars. I was positive this was going to be 6 stars, but around kind of like the halfway point, I was starting to get a little bit bored with certain things that were going on. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this because I love the couple in this so much. They're just so perfect and awesome together. But there was too much spice in this book. There really was. And I just didn't love their dynamic and relationship in this book because it felt like they would argue and then have spice and then argue and then have spice and argue spice, like back and forth, back and forth. And I just didn't love some of the certain things that were going on in their relationship. I feel like I love her character so much, the main character so much, but I feel like her love interest was overprotecting her a lot because there were certain things where I was just thinking, okay, she needs to step up now and she needs to just do this thing. And he would just keep protecting her and shielding her, and I feel like that really just messed up a lot of stuff. So it was really just a lot of things in their relationship in this book that I didn't love and that I couldn't get on board with. But I still love the characters. I love the side characters. I love how easy the magic system and this world is to understand. I love all of the different fae elements as well, and the magic, and just all of that is so much fun. And I know that the series is coming to an end very soon. I think the last book in the series is coming out this month, which is really sad because I'm gonna just be so heartbroken when this series is over. But I'm very excited to finish the last two books in this series, and I hope that they will be 6 stars or 5 stars, hopefully, and that hopefully the couple will just be more likable in the last two books. The next book I picked up wasn't really technically a book, but I'm still going to count it anyways because I think novellas do technically count. They're just really short books. But this is A Little Better Than the Movies novella by Lynn Painter called Nothing Better Than You. And this is available on the Simon Teen website, and you can read it for free. You just have to register for an account and then you can read it that way. And I loved this novella so much. I've pretty much given all of her many novellas 5 stars. And this is from Wes Bennett's POV. He is the love interest in Better Than the Movies. And this is his POV when him and Liz have their first kiss and like the events that lead up to it and his whole thought process leading up to the big kiss. And I just love Wes Bennett so much. He's definitely a top book boyfriend for me. I think he's just absolutely adorable, wholesome. He has the best golden retriever energy ever. I just love him so much. And him and Liz are just one of my favorite couples ever. And with the new sequel to Better Than the Movies coming out soon, I mean, this just makes me even more hyped to be able to get back to Wes and Liz and see what they've been up to. I'm very excited for the sequel. I'm also super nervous because the sequel is a second chance romance. So that breaks my heart a little bit that something disrupted the happiness in their relationship. But this novella, super adorable. Like, I have zero complaints about it. I think it was just so sweet and short and perfect. And I just love Lynn Painter's writing, and this was just so good. The final book I picked up in August was Wisteria by Adlyn Grace. I don't know if you guys know this, but this entire trilogy is just one of my favorite book series ever. Like, this whole trilogy is basically 6 stars for me, or infinity stars. I love this series. And so I was obviously so excited to see how it was going to end and to read Wisteria and get Blythe's story. But I was also really just sad, and I probably could have read this book a lot quicker than what I did, but I just kind of wanted it to last longer because I didn't know like when we were going to see these characters again. Apparently, Adlyn Grace has a little holiday novella coming out for this series, so I'm very excited for that. But I love these characters so much, and I just wanted to stay with them for a little bit longer. But this book is Blythe's story. I can't go too deep into what this book is about because I wouldn't want to spoil the events of Belladonna and Foxglove. But this book has enemies to lovers and it's got arranged marriage, two of my favorite tropes, especially when you combine both of these tropes, you get the best tension and the best complex romance. This whole series is basically like a YA version of Bridgerton with a lot of gothic elements to it. And it's just so amazing. The romance and then the lovely fantasy elements are just so perfect. And I really loved this book. I was a bit nervous at first because this last book in the series follows a character who was not the main character of Belladonna and Foxglove, and I was a bit nervous to see if see if I would like her POV, but I really loved her. I think she was amazing, and I love that we got cameos from other characters from Belladonna and Foxglove that we've grown to love, and I really loved the love interest as well. I think he was amazing and just a very interesting character. I really didn't like him in Foxglove, and then in this book, he was just absolutely incredible, and I loved their whole dynamic, and it felt like a real enemies to lovers where they had a reason to dislike each other, and then as their relationship progressed and they had all of these beautiful sweet moments, you could definitely see like how they fell in love with each other. And I think that was just written really, really well, and I loved the ending. And I think there's another bonus chapter at the end that I need to find, a bonus chapter in the Barnes and Noble edition that I don't have because I live in the UK. We don't have Barnes and Noble here, but I'm going to find that bonus chapter online somewhere. But I think it ended so beautifully, and I can't wait to read more books by Adeline Grace in the future. And I highly recommend that you pick up this series, especially this time of year with spooky season coming up. These books aren't like scary, but they deal with like the paranormal and ghosts and all of that stuff. So with October coming up, I think this would be a really fun series to start reading in October. So I definitely recommend it to all of you. Thank you guys so much for clicking and watching on this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my little, very short reading wrap up. Hopefully we can talk about more books for my September reading wrap up. I'm still a bit of a slow reader this month, but I'm hoping that I can read more than 6 books, hopefully. That way we can have more to talk about. But I love you guys so much. Let me know what you read in August. Let me know what you're reading right now, and let me know if you have any book recommendations for me or any book videos that you would like to see from me in the future. And I just love you all so much, to the moon and back, and happy reading to all of you.